to the Johnson family. Moving into Oak Ridge Heights was supposed to be a new beginning, a dream come true. But beneath the picturesque streets and perfectly manicured lawns lurked secrets they couldn't have anticipated. 8-year-old Amara was the light of their lives, full of joy and curiosity. But when she came home one fateful afternoon, her trembling voice shattered their world. "Mom, the bus driver did it again." What exactly did Amara mean? And why would her father grab his phone, dial 911, and set off a chain of events that would uncover the dark truths of their seemingly perfect community? Stay with us as we dive into a gripping tale of courage, justice, and a family's fight for what's right. Welcome to Graceful Storyteller, where today's story reminds us that even the smallest voices can spark the biggest change. The yellow bus screeched to a stop at the corner of Oak Ridge Drive. Amara Johnson clutched her new pink backpack as her mother, Camille, smoothed down her curls one last time. "You've got your lunch, your notebook, and pencils, right?" Camille asked, a mix of excitement and anxiety in her voice. "Yes, Mommy," Amara replied, rolling her eyes in the way only a confident 8-year-old could. "And my math homework." "I got it all." Camille laughed, kissed her daughter's cheek, and stepped back as the doors of the bus opened. Mr. Grayson, the silver-haired bus driver with kind eyes and a booming voice, greeted her. "Morning, Amara. Hop on board." At least, that's what the neighborhood saw. Behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding. As days turned into weeks, Amara's bubbly recounts of her school adventures began to fade. Camille noticed the subtle shift first. Amara, once eager to talk about her new friends and her favorite class, now offered little more than one-word answers. "How was school?" Camille asked one evening, setting a plate of spaghetti on the table. "It was fine," Amara replied, her eyes glued to her plate. Amara's father, Malcolm, wasn't as quick to notice. A long commute and the demands of his corporate job often meant he only caught glimpses of his daughter's growing discomfort. But one night, as the family watched TV, Amara whispered, "Mummy, the bus driver said something mean to me today." "What did he say?" baby Camille asked, her voice sharp with concern. Amara hesitated. "He just said, 'I don't belong here.'" Malcolm's fork froze mid-air. "What do you mean?" he said that. "Did someone else hear it? Are you sure?" Amara nodded, but didn't elaborate. "It's okay, Daddy. I don't want to get him in trouble." Camille couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. Every morning, as she watched the bus disappear down the street, her stomach churned. She wanted to believe Malcolm's assurances. "She's just adjusting, Cam. New place, new school. It's a lot for a kid." But Camille's maternal instincts screamed otherwise. She decided to follow her gut. The next day, Camille cleared her schedule. After waving Amara off at the bus stop, she jumped into her car and trailed behind the school bus at a safe distance. Her heart pounded as she observed each stop. At one point, she thought she saw Mr. Grayson glance back at Amara with a look she couldn't quite place. Was it irritation? Disdain? She couldn't tell. When the bus pulled into the school parking lot, Camille watched as Amara stepped off. Mr. Grayson said something to her, his face neutral but his body language tense. Amara nodded quickly and scurried away. Scene 3, the incident. Days passed without further incident until one Friday afternoon when Amara came home 2 hours late. Camille was pacing the living room, her phone in hand, when the front door creaked open. Amara stepped in, her normally bright eyes downcast and red-rimmed. Her pink backpack was dirty, her braids messy. "Where have you been?" Camille's voice cracked with worry as she rushed to her daughter's side. "The bus driver made me get off," Amara said, her voice barely a whisper. He said I was being too loud." "What do you mean? He made you get off?" Camille's voice rose in anger. Malcolm, arriving home moments later, found his wife in tears and his daughter trembling on the couch. "Amara," he said gently, kneeling before her. "What happened? Start from the beginning." Between sobs, Amara explained. That afternoon, Mr. Grayson had pulled the bus over in a secluded area. He told her to get off, accusing her of not knowing her place when she refused. He'd opened the door and yelled until she stepped out. "I walked for a long time," she said, her voice shaking. "I didn't know where I was. I was so scared." Malcolm clenched his fists, his face a mask of barely contained fury. Without a word, he grabbed his phone and dialed 911. The arrival of the police brought some relief but also new frustrations. The responding officers were polite but skeptical. "Do you have any witnesses to corroborate this?" one asked, jotting down notes. "No, she was alone," Camille snapped, her voice filled with exasperation. "She's 8 years old. Isn't her word enough?" The officers assured them they would investigate, but their measured responses did little to reassure the Johnsons. That night, Malcolm couldn't sleep. He sat in the living room, replaying the events over and over. What kind of person would target a child like this? And what if Amara wasn't the only one? Over the next few days, Camille and Malcolm took turns escorting Amara to and from school. The neighborhood, once a haven of suburban peace, now felt hostile and alien. Camille's unease grew when a neighbor, Mrs. Preston, approached her at the park. "You're making a lot of noise about this bus driver," Mrs. Preston said, her tone cold. "Maybe you should let it go. He's been driving our kids for years without a problem." Camille's mouth dropped open. "Are you saying my daughter's lying?" "I'm saying," Mrs. Preston replied, her voice dripping with condescension, "that some people don't fit in here." It wasn't until another family came forward that the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. A mother of 2 boys, Mrs. Carter, approached Camille one morning. "I heard about what happened to your daughter," she said. "We've had similar issues. We stopped using the bus months ago." Her story mirrored Amara's subtle digs, targeted comments, and one incident where Mr. Grayson had left her sons stranded after claiming they were being disruptive. With Mrs. Carter's account and her willingness to speak out, Camille and Malcolm felt renewed determination. Armed with statements from multiple families, the Johnsons worked with the school board and local authorities to confront Mr. Grayson. When the police arrived at his home to question him, he denied everything, insisting he was being unfairly targeted. But the growing number of allegations made it impossible for him to escape scrutiny. Eventually, other children came forward, emboldened by Amara's bravery. Their testimonies painted a chilling picture of a man who had used his position of authority to intimidate and discriminate. In the months that followed, Mr. Grayson was removed from his position and faced legal consequences. The school district implemented new policies, including mandatory cameras on all buses and comprehensive diversity training for staff. For the Johnsons, the road to healing was long but hopeful. Amara, with the help of a therapist, began to regain her confidence. Camille and Malcolm found solace in knowing they had not only protected their daughter, but also helped other children and families. One sunny afternoon, as a new bus driver, a kind, smiling woman, pulled up to the corner of Oak Ridge Drive, Amara turned to her parents and said, "It's going to be okay now, isn't it?" "Yes," baby Camille replied, her voice steady. "It's going to be okay." Amara's story is a reminder of the strength it takes to stand up for what's right even when the odds are against you. If you've ever faced injustice or know someone who has, remember one voice can spark change. And together, we can create a safer, kinder world for everyone. What would you do if you were in her parents' shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.